Training camp underway here at Hallis Hall. The ramp up to full pads next Monday morning. Just helmets and shells the remainder of this week. Players' Day off on Sunday, and we're here to cover it with my broadcast partner, Tom Thayer from News Radio 780 and 105.9 FM WBBM. I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks to our producers, Jordan Treadup, Dan Brilli, and our friends here at The Score. Coming up in our next segment, we're joined by Bears starting quarterback Andy Dalton as we look forward to his work, and this is 11th NFL training camp. I dare say, I think you got to be approaching 40-some training camps of some sort. I don't know. Not that many, but, I mean, it might be close. 25 years in broadcasting and, 11 training camps in the NFL, and then how many in the USFL? Three. Yeah. So 14 plus 20. You're knocking on 40's door.
But you know what it is? It's always what's next. And it's kind of like if you listen to the approach of Matt Nagy. After you conclude a practice, it's about what can you improve, what do you have to pay attention to, and the new details that present themselves every practice. So it's a lot like me. I could be through 40 training camps, but now I'm starting to think about today's practice, tomorrow's practice, and next week's events when they get into full pads.
All right, let's get you up to date on what we heard from Matt Nagy this morning. Because that's what he's doing before practice, the news conferences this year at training camp. And so it is some concern, obviously, when anybody's not on the field. That's a starter. Eddie Jackson, the safety. He is on the non-football injury list with a hamstring, a soft tissue injury. And then you got right tackle Germain Ifedi on the PUP list, Tom, with a hip flexor. But no real concern, no major concern. He's just giving these guys time to heal up. There's a long camp. You okay with that?
Yeah, right now I am. It's preventative medicine. You don't want to have these injuries escalate into a bigger issue where it prevents them from being on the field when the regular season gets here. Listen, Germain Ifedi, he knows and understands what is in front of him. He understands how to get through a football season. So I would rather have a player come up and say, hey, I'm less than 100%, get that issue ready. Give Larry Borum some extra reps.
And Tariq Cohen, Daz Newsome, they're on the PUP list. We'll wait for their return at some point. Newsome injuring his collarbone during a rookie minicamp. And then Robert Quinn, a little bit of back tightness, working on the side in his first day. But, we heard from him this week about his own expectations and owned up to what was a rough year for him, in his opinion, given the output of over the course of his career about sacking quarterbacks.
I guess it might have been just kind of hard on myself because I got high expectations. I might have just beat myself down mentally, but, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I can erase 2020 because, put it behind me because, again, it's on and over with. So now I can look forward to this year, coming with a better positive mindset, a little more energetic, happy mindset, and, try to give, the Bears and my teammates and, everyone the best version of myself as a person and player. And, hopefully they get what they're looking for.
I believe what he's saying, too. And I think last year, not having the offseason for a guy that moved to another team, playing a different position, frankly. He was a 4-3 guy. This is first time in a 3-4. He also intimated that, yes, there must have been conversations about how he envisioned himself being used and what his strength is, which is clearly hand in the dirt, screaming off the edge, and getting to the quarterback even at his advancing age. And the Bears appear to be open to doing that. Matt Nagy says, yes, we will use him to his strengths, but he will also be used the way we would like to use him in the base of our scheme as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's capable of doing everything that's required of him. What I like out of the first couple days of practice, that he's in the hip pocket of Khalil Mack, because you think about the relationship that they've been able to forge. He didn't know a lot about Khalil. They weren't teammates, and now he has a year to spend around him. And when I see the enthusiasm in which Khalil approaches practice, I want this to be contagious to Robert Quinn, because he has to have that same positive mental attitude that's needed from every player, especially Robert.
I got to talk about Matt Nagy this morning, too, and he mentioned it in the introductory news conference this week on Tuesday with General Manager Ryan Pace, but just what he's learned. There is a lot of introspective moments for a head coach. They sit in that office grinding every single day. They never are able to turn it off. Yeah, there's a summer break. They go on and do things with their family as he did this summer, but you're always thinking, you're always in contact, likely in his case, with his quarterbacks, Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. He's got a very good relationship with David Montgomery. Cole Kmet's in his office breaking down tape, so it's always on. But look at himself in the mirror and saying what I didn't do right, what I need to work on as a head coach, let alone play caller and offensive designer, he takes that stuff to heart, and he's always been that way since we've known him. And he really took it to heart this offseason, and the end result now is what we'll start to see in training camp, what his expectations are. But what do you think when you hear a first-time head coach entering his fourth camp, looks himself in the mirror, and basically dresses himself down?
And, in the midst of a pandemic. Yeah. And, they're changing location of a training camp. And, there's another defensive coordinator that you got to fit into the mix. I like the fact that he talked about going outside the box when he needed some advice, not only his mentors inside the football business, but outside that realm of life, because, they're faced with a lot of issues that I think that can benefit Matt Nagy. I think Nagy has handled everything very efficiently, and when you can admit to yourself that you have to get better at different aspects of what your role is, I think it's beneficial for you in the long run. So I'm always excited to see what the next step is, the next decision is for Matt, and how it benefits the team.
And what he seeks from the 2021 Bears, he made clear this week.
I want no complacency is something that we've talked about. It's easy to have these rah-rah speeches on day one of training camp, but the focus is going to be on making sure that we don't get complacent in any area, that we're great teachers as coaches.
And they've always tried to be great teachers. He also says practice is going to be 100 miles an hour.
Good. And I think Matt Nagy has a group of veterans here that he can rely on, those guys conveying that message from the locker room to the practice field, because you don't want to sit there and have your head coach tell these guys every single day what he expects out of them, the attitude and the effort level. That's got to be something that's presented by his marquee guys on this football team. And I think they all have the ability to be thrust into that leadership role, to bring along the other players that not need to be encouraged to practice harder, but just show how they practice as hard as they do to be an influence to the guys that are fighting for reps.
All right, you're in that room, first team meeting of the season, training camp about to commence. It's the ramp-up period, but he stands before you as a player, and this is what he says.
You're going to see and feel a team that practices hard. And so that emphasis that we're talking about is going to be on a different level than what y'all have seen in 3 years here with me. So the practices that we have are going to be fast. There's going to be no walking around. Every rep is going to count. And you might see in 10 reps, you might see a starter get 4 reps, but those 4 reps are going to be 100 miles an hour. And if they're not, they won't be on the field.
That's the kicker. If not, they won't be on the field, no matter who it is.
Okay, so, Matt, you put it out there to the public. This is on a radio station that a lot of people are going to listen to, and there's going to be fans at practice, so they're going to want to see that effort displayed in the practices out there. But Matt sounds to me like a first-year head coach, a guy that's trying to change the environment to what he's expected of the guys on the practice field. And, Jeff, we're going to be here every single day, so, we'll be able to evaluate those words as strong as they came out of Coach Nagy.
Well, storms moved through the area last night. Nice morning leading to practice on fields 1 and 2 here at Hallis Hall today. A well-designed layout for fans, Tom, and media, football operations, players. The whole place looks great. It sparkles. And now let's hope to see some really good competition when they get the pads on starting on next Monday. Coming up next, Bears starting quarterback Andy Dalton here on Bears All Access with Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. We're brought to you by IGS Energy on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Welcome back to Bears All Access. We're brought to you by IGS Energy. Choose clean energy for your home at IGS.com because every good choice adds up to a better world. With Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, and pleased to kick off our training camp coverage for 2021 here on Bears All Access with starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears, Andy Dalton. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking out some time. How you feeling?
Feeling good. Glad to be back and back to work.
Was this Camp 11 for you?
Camp 11.
Camp 11. They all have their own little angle to them. And for Bears fans, whom you've already seen on the field, obviously, with the first practice today, I tell you, they're passionate. And you've been in some great places in Cincinnati and Dallas. But first time for them at Hallis Hall, it's a treat. I bet they never thought they'd be able to be at the Bears facility. But I think there's many adjectives to describe each and every camp. What are yours right now by your feelings, if you had to come up with some adjectives on the start of this season with a brand new franchise, in particular this franchise?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement. And, I mean, you throw in training camp this year now with fans that missed out on a year of football, not being able to be there and all that kind of stuff. So and to just understand the passion that this city has for the Bears and that the fans have. So we're looking forward to it. We're excited to be back to work and back to playing some football again.
You know, Andy, so my first 8 years I played for the Bears, and then I went and played for the Miami Dolphins. For an offensive guard going another team, all I do is look at the sheet, and I see where the guards go, and that's all I have to learn. What did you learn last year from going from Cincinnati to Dallas that can help you go from Dallas to Chicago in terms of learning the system and everything that is required from a quarterback?
Right, and I've been in a lot of different systems in my 11 years. I think this is my 7th or 8th offense that I've been in that time. So learning a new playbook and learning new schemes really isn't it's kind of become second nature just because I've had to do it so much. But I think it's really more learning personalities, learning guys, learning how guys operate, and I think having some of the OTAs and having a chance to get in and call plays, get in and out of the huddle, make sure the communication's there. I think there's a lot of things that kind of go into it. And, it was a new place last year for me being in Dallas. It's a new place this year for me being here in Chicago. And there's a lot of experiences I can take from that.
A couple days ago, General Manager Ryan Pace and Head Coach Matt Nagy had their introductory news conference, and Ryan expressed a calmness. And that comes from their 4 years together now. They work very well together. But I think they were also alluding to you being here, and that calms their anxieties a little bit on the start of a season because of your history and your intelligence about football, and I think the team is feeding off of that already. Do you get that vibe? And have you always had that vibe? I went back to your days at Texas Christian and going back and reading about how coaches felt about you, and when the Bengals were scouting you, they had that same impression 11 years ago.
Yeah, I think that comes with having a lot of confidence in what I know I can do. And, I've been a part of some really good teams just throughout my career, if you're going back all the way from high school, all the way down. I feel like I've been a part of winning programs. And
state champion, right?
Yeah.
Or not? Katy, Texas?
I was. I mean, there's a lot of history of, state championships there. I unfortunately lost in the state game my senior year, but,
Still bug you?
Yeah, it still bugs me for sure.
42 touchdowns your senior year
42,
in high school.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
It was big.
Game?
The year before, just Katy, the high school I went to, is known for running the ball. So to throw 42 touchdowns was pretty cool.
I know you're still answering that question, but I got to bring my guy in here. Joliet Catholic, southern suburbs here of Chicago. They don't believe in throwing the ball.
We basically, 4 or 5 passes a game for us is a lot.
We went to a game many years ago, and he goes, "You got to go around the sidelines against Riverside Brookfield, right, in the western suburbs." And Joliet Catholic ran the ball every snap, and Riverside Brookfield threw it every snap. Who do you think won the game?
Went through it.
No. The team that ran it right down to the last snap.
Well, I guess I should say who was the quarterback.
51 to 50, and it went down to the last play of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
there's a lot of different high school offenses and a lot of different ways of doing it.
But, Matt, he was paying you a compliment, anticipatory, and I had to say it to myself a lot because it's not like – so the anticipated throws that you – put it into the receivers. So is it in the system well enough that you can put the ball into a spot where you expect them to be? And if there is maybe a yard short, a yard deep or whatever, can you go and have that conversation immediately with these guys and say, hey, this is what I expect out of you on this certain anticipated throw?
Yeah, I think Matt, that's one of his words that he loves to say, anticipatory throws, and that kind of buzzword. But I think it's understanding, okay, when the ball snap, what coverage are they playing, where are you going with the ball, and putting it in the right spot, and making sure everybody's on the same page. And so I think for me, just playing the game for so long, I understand the timing of how it should look and how it should feel, and making sure our receivers and our skill position players understand that and know that. And so, like you said, if there is a guy that's a yard shorter or he's a little bit deep on certain things, I understand that because I know the rhythm and the timing of how it should look and where it should be. And, that all comes down to anticipation. If you can get the ball out of your hands quick and on time, it gives the offense the advantage.
Bears starting quarterback Andy Dalton here on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. This is Bears All Access brought to you by IGS Energy. With Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Let's go back to your rookie year because talking about the anticipatory, a New York Times story they did on you in November of your rookie season. You were a second-round pick, and at the time it was written, the Bengals saw something they badly needed at that time with a veteran defense, a young, brand-new offense, and they needed steadiness. Is that your calling card?
I think so, and I feel like that's just kind of how I've been throughout my football career is, never getting too high, never getting too low. And there will be times you'll let out a little bit of frustration, but then you got to move on. That's playing this position. You can't hold on to anything. You got to move on, whether it's good or bad. And I feel like it's just kind of how I've played throughout my career. And so, steadiness, kind of what you were talking about earlier, what Matt and Ryan were talking about, just just kind of that steadiness of playing the game and having, for me, I understand I've got full control of this thing, and so to be able to direct and make sure everybody's on the same page, hopefully I give them a confidence where they can understand that they're going to get the most out of me.
When you see some of your developing experiences with A.J. Green, and then you go out on the field and you see a guy like Allen Robinson, can you bring a selection of plays with you? Maybe you said, okay, I've always liked this throughout my career. This is a position I can put these guys in. This is a play that I like against the specific coverages. You've got a lot of experience, and that's what they expect from experienced quarterbacks. Do you feel that you can bring some of those plays in your backpack and say, hey, Matt, I like these?
Absolutely. That's one thing when I signed here, just talking with them, we've talked through, the offense of what this team has done, and then also some things that I really like. And, I think there'll be some give and take with everything, make sure everybody's comfortable with what we're doing. But like you said, I had AJ for so long, so we were really good at certain things, and I knew exactly where he was going to be on certain things. I'm here to build chemistry with all of our guys, but AJ and Allen, they're different receivers, so their skill sets are different in certain things. We'll find the things that we're going to get really good at and definitely have those in.
Andy, the game's a chess match. It always has been. So over the years, have you noticed how defenses, is there trends to develop on what they want to take away from you regardless of all the different systems? And have you had to morph into different aspects of your talents, tap into different aspects of it, and maybe even recreate yourself a little bit from time to time?
Yeah, I think you try to find every year ways to just improve your game, and this year being in a new system around new guys, it's really just building the chemistry with our guys. And so I've, like I said, this is my 11th year playing. I feel like I've seen everything. I feel like I've seen a lot of stuff, and I can pull from those experiences. Even being with Bill Lazor, it's like we can go back and talk about, oh yeah, back in 17 they did this, and 18, and remember that game, this one play, all that kind of stuff. We've already been doing it, so that's just kind of how this works, and I think that just comes with playing the game.
More with Andy Dalton, Bears starting quarterback, coming up after a break. This is Bears All Access with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, here on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. The Chicago Bears, one of the teams on the Chicago Sports Alliance, are supporting Read Chicago's gun violence reduction efforts. Learn more at heartlandalliance.org/read. Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer with Bears starting quarterback Andy Dalton. A few more minutes with the Bears starting quarterback. Middle finger, left hand. Tell me about it. Middle finger, left hand.
Going back to high school. Yeah.
The significance of it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I've had some bad luck with fingers. Middle finger, left hand. I broke it in a playoff game, but finished the season. Affect anything? It's the 2 times I've broke my thumb and tore ligament in my thumb in the NFL that affected where I wasn't able to play.
Hey, how is the relationship developing with Sam Mustipher, the center here? Because I think there's a unique bond between quarterback and center, either the rhythm of your cadence, how it fits along with all the offensive line, or just, his snap trajectory. How is that young relationship developing?
That's been great. Sam, he's a really smart player, and he's going to do everything he can to make sure we're communicating well. And I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure that we're on the same page, just from a protection standpoint, understanding when we need to change protections, re-ID things and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's one thing that we'll just continue to work together. But it's been fun to be around him and just to see how he not only directs that offensive line, but kind of gets everybody on the same page.
How did you like football atmosphere last year? Because we talk about no crowds in the stadium, where as broadcasters, if Jeff and I were in the stadium, as an ex-offensive lineman, man, you can hear so much. Was there anything that you had to tone down your tempo, or was it still full go?
No, I feel like it was full go. The thing that was nice, you never had to worry about going on a silent cadence, and so having to deal with that. But we were fortunate in Dallas last year that we were still able to have some fans, so you had a little bit of sense of normalcy. But every time we played on the road, we didn't have any fans.
Last year in Dallas, and I know you mentioned this about the competitiveness you felt, even being Dak's backup to start the year until his injury. Was that something you had to feel and to just – because it's not simple leaving a franchise where you started and had so much success and then tackling a new one, knowing you got a young player there in front of you. Was that important that you felt that fire burning and you knew it when you weren't able to get in the games until he got hurt?
For sure. I think for me, we didn't have preseason games either, so I had to really find myself and find my way once the season started, because it's I've always been the guy out there. And then those first couple games, standing on the sideline, trying to help out as much as I can, but just kind of find my role and where I fit into all that, but also realizing that I want to be the guy on the field. I want to be the guy that's helping this team win. And so I think there is a little extra fuel that came from that.
Was there any transition time at all? Because when Dak got hurt, man, Andy, you're the starter. You're going to be there for the rest of the season. And I know when you are a starter and then you kind of take that backup role for as long as it happens, then all of a sudden you don't get a lot of notification. It's this guy's hurt, you're in.
Right, yeah. I think the good thing that I went in is I prepared the same way as if I was the guy. Playing for so long, it's I have a good routine of how I'm going into these games, understanding the game plan, understanding the film study and all that kind of stuff. So once it happened, it was all right, give me my rib protector, let's get my helmet, and let's get this thing going.
Andy Dalton, our guest here on Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score. This is Bears All Access training camp underway here at Hallis Hall with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak. Tell us about the quarterback room. What's it like? It's going to be a question, obviously, that's going to continue all season long. The prying eyes and the writers and the broadcasters in this town with quarterbacks. It's an everyday discussion, even in the offseason. So Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, and Nick Foles.
We've got a great room. For me, one before we drafted Justin, and it was me and Nick. Nick's a guy that I've known since high school, have followed since high school, just being Texas guys. He's a year younger than me, and we've been around each other a little bit, but have never really spent an extended amount of time around each other. So just building that relationship, and it's been really cool because I followed his whole career. And then we added Justin into the mix, a young, talented player. I think Nick and I both are just trying to help him out as much as we can, kind of just first steps into the NFL. And we've got a really good room. And then you throw all the coaches in the mix, too, that we've got in there. It's a fun room to be in.
You have talented running stats. So the development from going from a West Coast offense to an RPO offense, has that helped your career? Has that been beneficial to you because of the talents and the traits you have?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest things is I get the ball in my hands quick, make quick decisions, and get the ball out. And so now you throw in West Coast offense. Then you throw in some of the RPO stuff where you have some advantage throws and different things like that. I mean, I think all that stuff fits me.
You had a lot of experience over the years, obviously, doing standing at the podiums and doing news conferences and getting that barrage of questions even on the national level because of your playoff past. And then in the Cowboys, it's such a big market, and such as this one as well. How do you handle what will be questions every week about Justin and how he's doing? Because they're going to care about what you do, but they're also going to care about what he does.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement, I think, just around because of the quarterback position is such an important position, especially here in Chicago. And Justin had a great college career, and there's there's that buzz and excitement around him. But I'm not worried about Justin. I'm worried about what I'm doing and what I'm going to do to help this team win. And hopefully people will see that, and hopefully people will feel that. And when Justin gets his time, I'm sure he's going to do great. But right now, I'm focused on what I'm going to do to help this team win.
You were a day one starter in the National Football League. Sorry, I cut you off. Day one starter. Have you ever, even just for kicks, gone back and said, I wonder if we redrafted where I'd be? As opposed to a second-round pick. Because look at the career, man.
No, I mean, you can go back and think about that, but I'm so thankful I went when I did and where I did, because I think it set me up to have the career that I've had. I think I got around the right staff. I was on the right team at the right time, and it kind of set the foundation for me to get into the NFL. So it's not always how high you get drafted. It's kind of going to the right situation, and I felt like out of that draft I went to a good spot.
He's still mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4th rounder, I got screwed.
Yeah. Well, they passed over a couple more times. I was second round, 35th pick, so I didn't have to wait around too long.
When you were at the combine, were you looking at the other quarterbacks and saying, "Hey, I fit in this quarterback draft, and I fit in this room, and I'm just had to appreciate your talents that you were putting on display"?
Yeah, I think you go to those combines, you go to the thing where you're around other guys, and you're going to be looking like, okay, who's the guy out here? All right, I feel like I'm better than him. I feel like I'm better than him. I feel like I can do some good things. And you know how it is. Some guys get hyped up, and then they get taken high, and it may not work out as well. So, there's all different ways of going about it.
2 questions to wrap us up. I believe this is right, you're a guitar player, and you did it. You like playing certain guys. So what are you playing these days, or are you?
That's one thing. I'm mad at myself for not bringing my guitar up here to Chicago. It's still sitting at my house back in Dallas. But I play a lot of Christian music and country music, so I'm okay. I'm a good campfire guitar player.
How's that left middle finger work? In your guitar playing?
Yeah, it works just fine. I got it fixed.
Well, you got a couple country guys on this team that love. Roquan Smith loves country. So, loves country music.
We'll see if he can sing. I'll get the guitar out and see what he
Cody
can do.
Whitehair as well. So, all right. Lastly, what are your expectations for this 2021 ball club? And we certainly appreciate you being here today in our final minute with you, because there's a lot of sleeping giants. I think we both agree on both sides of the ball, for that matter, and a good core of veteran players that have earned their marks in this league already. And now, if they play to their potential, there could be a lot of great news with the Chicago Bears. What's your perspective?
Yeah, we've got high expectations for ourselves. I think there's a lot of players that are hungry and ready to get to work. And so I'm looking forward to this year. I think everybody's excited to be back playing football again. And, there's a lot of potential on this team. We just got to go out there and prove it each week.
Well, when the Bengals brought him in the league, they were looking for a guy with character, mental toughness, work ethic, and, of course, talent. They picked Andy Dalton. He's now a Chicago Bears starting quarterback. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, thanks,
Appreciate it. More of the show coming up next. We'll hear from Bears head coach Matt Nagy and general manager Ryan Pace with Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak here on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Segment of Bears All Access is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an appointment in clinic or virtually and start feeling better tomorrow. Back with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak here at Hallis Hall. We heard Andy Dalton for 20 minutes, Tom, and I'd have to say, very enjoyable young man. Knew he would be. That was our first face-to-face with him. Loves the game. But the overriding feeling I got out of those 20 minutes is that don't mess with him. He's confident. And he's competitive.
Right. I'm glad you said that, because I liked the confidence that he displayed. And he realizes this is his job. And this is not a job that was handed to him. This is a job that he's earned over the last 10 years. So it's going to be exciting to watch put this offense in motion. And from the press conference a couple days ago, and we talked about it here, anticipatory throws. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on the receivers, because don't look for the ball to be there during your route. You look for the ball to be there as soon as you conclude your route. And that's one of the things that Matt likes about Andy Dalton. And so here it is, going to be on display. You're going to have some marquee receivers to throw the ball to, get them in a position to succeed through the hands of the quarterback.
And here's what Allen Robinson thinks of Andy Dalton.
Andy's a pro. He's played a lot of ball. He's played in different offenses, played played with some pretty high-profile receivers, so I'm definitely excited to be able to continue to work more and more with him, just from the conversations and stuff that I've had with him and some of the reps that we got in mandatory minicamp. I'm definitely excited. Like I said before, he's a guy who knows the game. He knows different schemes. He knows defenses. So even being able for myself to learn from a guy like him based on some of his prior experiences and some of the things that he's been through in this league.
All this while Justin Fields learns on the job, tries to get his best foot forward as soon as possible and let the chips fall where they may when we wind up at the end of training camp and seeing just how far he's developed. But with Robinson, the idea of timing and anticipation, who's an outstanding route runner, this is probably music to his ears.
Well, earlier this year, we heard Allen Robinson at the press conference saying that he's trying to work on speed, that he can turn an 8-yard gain into a 12-yard gain. And that's part of the anticipatory throws by Andy Dalton. If he puts Allen Robinson in a position where he's catching the ball in front of the defender, you're going to see those plays that, if he wants 12 yards, they're going to become 20-yarders. And that's what could be so exciting for Allen Robinson.
Yeah, just like he told us this week.
We focus on a lot of, speed endurance, and muscle endurance, being able to not only, get faster from a standpoint where you're just running faster, but, being able to hold that top speed for longer, being able to run at the highest speed, for longer distances, being able to get to that top speed quicker, being able to get to the top speed, stop, change direction, and get back to it, as fast as possible. So being able to do all those little things and focus on all those little nuances in my game, along with adding some of the, technicalities and technical things when it comes to route running.
Well, I like that he worked on those things. Everybody's got to work on something. In the offseason, we heard about David Montgomery doing the same with his speed. And speed is a big deal. Speed gets you paid also.
Right, but, let's not unrealistically look for 80-yard touchdowns by Allen Robinson every time he touches the ball. To me, can he add 15 more first downs to the catches that he's, that the numbers that he'll put up there?
On third down. First
right.
down catches on third down, right?
Just give me first downs mounting up, because I think when you keep the offense on the field, you're going to keep your defense fresh. You're going to give all these guys an opportunity to succeed. Because if you turn that 8-yard catch into a first down opportunity, it's going to have explosive opportunities for your offense.
What'd you think about moving on from Anthony Miller? We banged the table for the guy for a few years and just never realized his potential.
Listen, man, I hope Anthony Miller goes to Houston and has a great future to his career. But I think the Bears got into a position where, Riley Ridley, Javon Wims, Bird, Marquise Goodwin, all these guys are going to have an opportunity to succeed in his place. And Jeff, every time a guy moves on from a football team, there's 10 guys waiting in the wings for their opportunities, because there's going to be a guy in this receiver room that, man, we may not know a lot about right now. But because of a player moving on, and now you're maybe gifted a couple more reps during practice or in preseason games, someone, that cream may rise to the top.
Well, it always happens in training camp. But I personally always fall in love with some receivers. So somebody's going to grab my attention. Of course, you did not mention Darnell Mooney. And without the benefit of an offseason a year ago and normal progress for a rookie, he still had a very solid season for a fifth-round pick. And I think the most excitement outside of the new speed added to that mix is just where his development comes from.
Well, I'm already thinking of Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson being on this first unit. Now we need to see who that guy is going to take the next step. And listen, man, as much as that you are holding out for Anthony Miller, I'm still holding out for Riley Ridley, because I still see a guy that is a talented receiver, and maybe with a quarterback that has better anticipation to his throws or a little bit more foot versatility of Justin Fields, maybe it'll exploit what his skills are.
All right, you had to love what Matt Nagy had to say about the running game and the desire of giving David Montgomery his share, 20-plus carries a game if it works out, and the addition of what Damian Williams can bring from his days at Kansas City.
No, I think it's very doable, and I know when I was asked that question, you start getting into the analytics and you start talking numbers, and when you look at where David has been the last couple of years, he's getting him the football is a good thing, and he can make a lot of people miss that aren't blocked. He can make guys miss that are blocked, and for us, when you're able to get in that fourth quarter and you have the lead and you can hand the ball off to David Montgomery, that's a good thing. Unfortunately, we haven't been in that situation enough in the past 2 years. So it's limited him a little bit with carries. A lot of these big backs or these guys that get these heavier carries are getting them in the fourth quarter, and it's jumping their numbers up a little. So that 20 number was a part of that when you're winning in the fourth. But
Tom, that is always the case about carries and attempts. If you're trying to finish the job in the fourth quarter, when you put your offensive line, dig in the ground and start clearing the path, work that clock and finish the job, that is when carries go up. How would you like to see it structured?
You know what? I don't care about analytics when you're talking about the running game because it's about a commitment. And that's when you only – and I'm also frustrated by just hearing fourth quarter because if you're going to have David Montgomery with carries in the fourth quarter, it's because you gave him carries in the first and second quarter. So that's where the numbers are going to have to increase, is the opportunity to capitalize on a fatigued defense in the fourth quarter because you've already beat them up in the first and second quarter.
All right, offensive line. Let's talk about it. Sam Mustipher at center, flanked by Cody Whitehair on the left and James Daniels on the right. A healthy Jermaine Ifedi on the right tackle spot, and then the battle for left tackle with Tevin Jenkins getting that opportunity. So far, not able to practice in the first couple of days because of back tightness. And then a big list of players. There's 15 overall offensive linemen, some with experience. Not a lot of left tackle experience, obviously, on this roster, but guys that are versatile, that'll fill those swing roles at guard and tackle. Where do you see the offensive line position at this point at training camp?
Powerful with depth on the inside. And when you think of guys like Alex Bars, he's got versatility where he can go from center to guard to probably left tackle. To me, a guy like Larry Borum, a rookie, you got to prove to me he can't play left tackle. Because when I watch the fluidity of his feet and his ability to bounce around, I think that you can construct his balance to work over there. I know Tevin Jenkins is the guy that's been anointed to be the starting left tackle on this team, but I need to see the guy on the field. And do I have concern when you talk about a back issue this early in camp? Yes. However, if it's just an obstacle that he's going to overcome within a week's time and he's in there getting positive reps, I'm okay with it.
You know, when you read the tea leaves on injuries and you see things like, okay, Ifedi's got a hip flexor. You ever have one?
No.
Yeah. I don't. What kind of length of time is that? And when it's back stiffness, that's just precautionary.
Yeah, listen, back stiffness, I came in, I had back surgery, so I know what back stiffness is all about, and it's something that you can work through. Again, this early in the season, I'm okay with him maybe taking an extra week to get his back loosened up and then come out here fresh and ready to go. But, I've always liked the attitude that Tevin Jenkins has presented, that he is a tough guy and he's a guy that's willing to play at less than 100%. So as the preseason games approach, hopefully he gets on the field.
And Training Camp 2021 with Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak here on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. See your 2021 Chicago Bears at Soldier Field for the first time this season. Get tickets for the Meyer Bears Family Fest at chicagobears.com. With Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak, getting you ready for training camp. If you are so fortunate to have picked up one of those lottery spots and are able to check things out, I think you're going to love what you see here at Hallis. Hopefully Mother Nature cooperates every day and we'll have some fun and get the fans in front of the players once again. There's still protocols, so it's going to be a little bit different. Getting autographs and things like that, a little bit of adjustment, but it was good to see the fans this morning.
Hey, Matt talked about in his press conference the emotional impact that they have in practices and at games, and we talked about it with Andy Dalton, the first time in his career, preparing and playing games without fans. They play an important role. They play an important role in the end. Adrenaline they supply for you to get ready, their emotional support and their commitment to the football team. So for me, I'm excited to see the fans surrounding the practice field.
All right, one of the big news items was the return of Eddie Goldman. Eddie saying it was tough, that he was watching games, frustrated, had some regrets, but he did opt out last year, but he came back in great shape, spent the year in California, and every player that we've interviewed and run into have had nothing but great things to say and are happy to see Eddie Goldman. So now it's just back and getting to football shape get on the field and start making plays.
You know, we always talk about the eye test, and I was impressed by what I saw out of Eddie Goldman throughout the practices thus far. He looks like he's in shape. He looks powerful. He's got a good relationship with the defensive lineman, so he fits right back in the group immediately. I know that Matt has always talked about how introverted he is. I would rather see him be more of an extrovert, to show more enthusiasm at the line of scrimmage and within the defense, within the huddle, and then I think that it's not going to lead to him making plays, but at least that outward sign of enthusiasm is important for other players to see.
You know, when you're an introvert, you're an introvert. You know, you got to, as Matt says, be you. I just think it's more of, you know, he keeps to himself off the field too, but I do think he likes the game. He loves the game and he loves his teammates.
I think guys in the locker room are a lot more extroverted than maybe you see on the practice field itself. So behind the scenes, Eddie Goldman, you know, he's a teammate that these guys really enjoy being around. But Eddie Goldman, you also have skill where you were rewarded a big-time contract as a reflection of what the Bears expect you to be.
A Pro Bowl alternate a few years ago. Here's Khalil Mack.
You got a nose that can take on double teams. That's 1,000 pounds and make it look easy and shed blocks and make it hard for those running backs to get out of the backfield. It's hell for those guards and those centers. And so just understanding his strengths, he brings all different type of intangibles as well. You know what I'm saying? Not only stopping the run, but he can pass rush as well. So just having a guy like that back is huge.
Yeah, same thing Roquan Smith said. If you talk to Danny Trevathan, he'll say the same thing as well for the inside linebackers.
Well, you know, the one thing about Eddie Goldman, he's not one-dimensional. Like Khalil says, he's got versatility where he can move up and down the line of scrimmage, and he can be a pass rusher if the offensive formation their faces needs it. So Eddie Goldman, I think with the more experience he gets, he can become a pass rusher as well as a run stopper.
All right, let's talk Khalil Mack. Spend some considerable time talking about him because I really enjoyed what he had to say. Also a look in the mirror type of guy, and he's never going to make excuses. That's not his deal. He had a shoulder last year. He was on the injury report a lot. Never said it was the reason why his pass rush wasn't what he felt it could be and what it will be in the future. Still was one of the best pressure guys in the NFL, but there is big expectations for Khalil Mack, and he draws attention from the opposition no matter what, no matter where he lines up. And with the guy on the other side trying to rebound as well, Robert Quinn, he feels these two can be a lethal pair.
I mean, said what we can do, get to the damn quarterback. You know what I'm saying? That's what we got paid to do. Come in and affect the game by getting to the quarterback and create turnovers and short fields for this offense. And ultimately, that's the goal. You know what I'm saying? And of course, we're not satisfied with the result last year. So it's work to be done, man, and enough talking.
Yeah, enough talking. Time for action. He made that clear.
Right. You know, so far the early signs when you see Khalil on the practice field, one thing I admire about him most is he doesn't have to be invited to be in shape. He's always in great shape. He always pushes himself during the course of practice. And if he does stay healthy and he can be influenced on that defense with the other players around him, then you're going to see Khalil Mack, like he said, what he got paid here to do is come and put pressure on the quarterback. We see evidence of it all the time, but you got to see more destruction out of it and getting to the quarterback, dislodging the football, getting the strip sacks, and then being complimented by Robert Quinn and the rest of the defense. So everybody takes part in Khalil's skills.
And the prominent trait Matt Nagy wants to see from the Bears defense is quite clear.
Everywhere you look, I want that ball coming out. I want fumbles, interceptions, tip passes. I mean, when they go to bed and I just think about intercepting the football. You know, stripping that football, be like crazy about it. Everywhere you go, we have to get takeaways this year.
I can remember going to training camp and going against the best defense in the NFL for 5 years at training camp, and it made the games easier. It made the games faster and more physical for the offense. But it's because that we are practicing every day against the defense that has the traits that Matt Nagy's talking about.
All right, let's go to General Manager Ryan Pace as we break down the cornerback job because Jalen Johnson on one side and then a battle on the inside and other outside position. Desmond Trufant, first up in the conversation with Pace feeling that he can compete for that starting job and a player to keep an eye on.
Yeah, with Trufant, we've studied him a lot over the years, from Atlanta to Detroit. And I think, unfortunately, last year there was some soft tissue stuff that came up with hamstrings. So, we're getting ahead of that right now with our staff, trying to stay the head of the curve on that. But Trufant, we still feel has the stickiness to play man coverage, the suddenness, all those things. So it'll be good to see it all play out this camp. And there'll be good competition there. I know we talked about Vildor.
Yeah, we'll talk about Vildor next, but you have the floor on Trufant.
Trufant, he's always had the skill. He's always displayed it, that he's got the ability to play cornerback in the NFL and the different types of coverages that's required out of him. It's just a matter. You stay healthy, you will be on the field.
Now, Vildor had been one of the big topic points so far in the offseason. We'll see how he does in camp in year 2.
Got a lot of valuable play time down the stretch, and he definitely can push for the starting job. He has that kind of ability. He looked really good this offseason. When I think about these young emerging players on our team, he's definitely one of them, and he's such a pro. The way he prepares and the way he goes about his daily plan, and he's a talented player that we were really excited to get in that area of the draft, and the sky's the limit.
And just like Jalen Johnson, the expectations for Jalen Johnson are through the roof. Now, if you can connect on a guy like Kindle Vildor that is pushed by Trufant or is able to push Trufant, I think that's where the Bears' defensive backfield can capitalize.
All right, that's going to wrap up our show for Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks to Andy Dalton and our producers, Jordan Tredup, Dan Borelli, and the folks at The Score. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been Bears All Access on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Have a great night, everybody.